Happy Thursday, friends. Welcome to another Lean Coaching for Lean Coaches. And we are over hump day. We're almost to the weekend, and I'm just so excited and energized to be with you here as always, as we're going to have a conversation today about three strategies to avoid as a coach, as a consultant in your lean practice. And this comes on the heels of celebrating 1 year with one of my clients, Laurel Martin. So I'm super excited to do this. And she's already given me permission to share uh, about the lessons learned over time. And also, you know that this is my heart. This is what I love to do, help lean coaches, lean consultants that are either looking to move from that 9 to 5 to escape, break free, and do their own thing. They have the vision, just you just feel afraid and stuck, or you're already doing your own thing. You're starting and you just aren't able to move forward. You're feeling stuck in that in your head. You got some fears, some challenges, and that's who I love to help. I love to help you. So if that's you, shoot me a DM and we can have a conversation and explore what it would look like to work together on that. But let's hop right into it. And I'm going to need your help today, y'all. I want to know from your experience as you have been coaching and consulting. What are the things that you have learned? What are the missteps? I don't even like to say failures, but what are the things that you've learned from in your time as a lean consultant that you now as someone who practices avoid for yourself and you offer to other people? I'd love for you to share those in the chat so that we can all learn together. This, as I said, came on the heels Tuesday, of looking through my notes. So, one of the practices that I have with the folks that I coach with is actually keep track of how the session went. And so I was looking through notes and I have them in Excel because, of course, I'm a lean guy. So, everything in Excel or sheets. And I was reviewing it. And as I was ready to hop into the session, I looked at as because it always puts me to the top of the page. And at the top of the page, it said 3/5/23. And I thought to myself, or 3/6/23. And I thought to myself, wow, we have been doing this for 1 year. We were on our 50th session together. And I was like, dang, time has just flown by. And so when I brought it into this space as we were starting the session, I said, can you believe we have started, 1 year ago? And it is just crazy how time flies when you're having fun. And so as I was reflecting on that later and thinking about what I wanted to share for today, and I was still having some challenges with coming up with something to offer you all today, was, well, I know there are other coaches out there who've had clients for a lot longer, 3, 5, 10, 20. You may have been working with a client for 30 years. For me, this is my longest standing client right now, having been doing coaching for 18 months. And so it was a moment in time for me to go, okay, what can I share from all of those sessions that I've had with Laurel? And so I thought, let's just sum up three things that I've learned that I'm like, okay, these are the things that you want to avoid doing in your work as a lean coach, as a lean consultant. And so the three things I want to talk about to encourage you to avoid today, and we'll go into detail. And like I said, I'd love to hear from you today. I see there are some folks on, and I would love to hear your input. And especially also as you watch the replay, if you're doing that as well, would love to hear from you. What are the things that you avoid as a lean coach? So the three things is that you want to avoid: over structure, the urge to have the answer, and working with people that you don't vibe with. So I'll explain more of these as they go along because you might be asking yourself, okay, how are these lessons that you've learned from that? So the idea of avoiding overstructure. First off, That is me. I am someone who absolutely lives his life by structure. That I have a routine that I do every morning. I get up the same time, go take a shower, go do my morning meditation and reflection practice, go make my wife shake and get ready to make my oatmeal and coffee. Then I hop into work at 7 o'clock. I work to log off at 6. I have the same the same type of food I eat every night. I have oatmeal and coffee in the morning. So, very structured person. So, when Laurel and I started, the work was to help her launch her lean consulting business. She had been in a place where she wasn't enjoying life. And she had this vision for being out and helping small businesses, especially food and beverage businesses, get their shit together, for lack of a better word, operationally, process wise, and leadership wise, with her skills as a lean practitioner, a facilitator. And so she was ready to go. And she's also a practitioner of the improvement and coaching kata. So when we first had our conversation about moving forward, that appealed to her, doing work together in that way. Where if you're not familiar with the improvement kata, it's a 4-step pattern that you follow and you meet on a daily cadence for 30 minutes to help take little steps every day to move through the obstacles you're facing towards where you're headed to. So we were both on that same page. And as we started doing work of March of last year. We did those daily cadences, I believe, for a month and a half or so. And as we got through that time period and we were finishing up, and she was really making some great progress towards where she wanted to head to, she was getting clarity. She recognized, okay, I'm feeling like I'm making progress. There's more work to do. My capacity in different spaces, I don't have that capacity to do daily coaching. And as somebody who relies on structure and sticking with the pattern, that threw me off. I'm like, what the hell? Like this is the way, right? This is the way of doing daily coaching. This is how you move forward. And I was so stuck in my head in that how am I going to move past that? And I remember when I was in this season of time, my coach once saying, okay, do you want to help somebody or do you want to be stuck in your space? Do you want to help somebody and have income coming in, or would you rather be stuck in doing things only your way and not having any income coming in? And I thought, well, if you're putting it that way. So then came the idea of, okay, how do I work outside of the structure that I'm so used to and still help Laurel? And one of the things that comes to mind that one of the kata practitioners that many of us hang out in space with, Mark Rosenthal, he often says with the improvement kata and coaching kata is that it's a pirate's code. And that once you have learned the pattern and the practice through practice, not just the reading, of course, then it's like when you learn an instrument. When you first learn it, you aren't like going off and doing all my son is a trumpeter. You aren't doing like Louis Armstrong or Miles Davis right off the bat. You're learning the scales, you're learning the basics. And then once you've been in it for a while, then you can start improvising. And being a coach who had been practicing for a couple years, it's like, okay, I've got those skills in the bag. And so the contrast to avoiding like the overstructure is trusting your gut and your skills as a coach and consultant. You have a framework that you like to use. You have a pattern, a structure, maybe a course or a tool that's your jam. Maybe you like to facilitate Kaizen events or, a couple day workshops on A3s, leadership development, whatever it might be. But you have to trust that you have the experience and the knowledge. And also, in contrast or in tandem with that, It's about helping the person. It's about value to the customer. It's a drumbeat that I often, I was going to say ring, but a drum does not ring. I often beat here all the time because it's something that I see that's a struggle. And it's a struggle for me too, many times in my practice where I can make it about me, not about them. And so in this space, she had said, I think Laurel had offered, and of course, she might chime in here and offer a different story, but where could we meet at a different cadence? Could we meet, say weekly for a half an hour? And at first, I'm like everything in me went up, like was like, oh my goodness, how can we do that? We are we can we do that? Are we allowed to do that? And then when I remembered, okay, it's a pirate's code, and it's about helping her, and so we moved to weekly sessions, and so we've been working a half an hour a week for the past, I don't know, 6 to 9 months. And so it's been really, really good. And most sessions I'll ask, what is the most valuable thing you've gotten? And there's always something valuable that she's gotten. So I think in my mind, I was so in my head about, okay, there's not going to be value in this, or how am I going to do it? It was more about me and my lack of confidence in myself in that moment. So I just leaned into it. All right, let's do it. I know that I know how to coach, and we work well together. So that was such a great moment for me, and it's helped influence my practice now, I don't just coach folks in those daily sessions. Of course, I love that practice, and I think there's massive value in doing that if you're looking to learn the practice, or you're looking to grow your scientific thinking skills or your coaching skills. That's a great way to start, and something I offer as part of how I support folks in coaching. One other thing, too, in thinking about overstructure, a story that comes to mind for me during our time was something that my coach did for me when I was having a challenging moment, and we kind of missed on a few sessions with my coach, and he could see I needed some help with some more technical things, putting some structures and frameworks into place. He said, "All right, Sam, because normally our coaching sessions we're really working on mindset and confidence and okay, me processing." He said, "Let's take a session, and this session will be 100% on me, and let's work on creating this calendar for you, or creating this CRM for you, so that you can move forward with that." And so I never forgot that. And when I was working with Laurel, I remember that she had some challenges or wanted some help with a specific area that was more technical. And so I said, well, hey, let's go ahead and just have a session outside of doing the kata coaching and really help you with this specific space. And so we did that. And again, Laurel shared she got massive value out of that as well. And so this whole idea of avoiding overstructure, if you're anything like me, and it's okay, this is a safe space, you can raise your hand. Avoid that tie to structure. And remember, it's about them, and trust your gut that you have the skills to be able to support the person and help them move forward. So that's the first lesson. And again, would love to hear from you. I'm seeing a lot of great folks here on, and what's your tie? Do you have struggles with having too much structure? Let me know that I'm not all alone here. Number two, the thing that I learned from my time with Laurel was that having this urge to have the answer. And I've posted about this, I believe, yesterday. Um, as the husband of uh, 21 years, I know that that's a struggle for me. And it's one that not only comes up in my coaching, but in my marriage, where it's like, hey, I've got this answer. That's what as a coach, that's what you're paying me to do, is to help you move forward, and I've got the answer to help you move forward. And as a coach in the improvement kata, what we're really trying to do is help build up the scientific thinking and acting of the person we're working to support. Yes, of course, we want them to help move forward on their challenge. Of course, we want their success. But in the end, we want to build that learner up, and not just that scientific thinking and acting. That's what we want. Of course, we want them to grow in that. But the byproduct of that is that confidence that grows when you get into that practice and you walk through that structure with them on a consistent basis over time. And I know for me, and this was true with Laurel, there were so many times where I had to remind myself, you don't have to have the answer here. You just have to ask a question. You follow the pattern and the structure, right? There is a place for that structure, right? To help the learner and support them in being able to do that. Asking the question and listening. In fact, I have a note from a recent session. One of my micro learnings in the kata, one of the things that we take to do after a session as someone who's being coached or as a coach is doing a reflection and use these things called micro learnings. So just little learnings that you have after the session. And so as I was looking, and I not gonna lie, used Chat GPT to help me do some research on these 50 sessions of learnings and help me summarize what came up. But then I went back and I did a quick review as well. And one of the sessions, it said listening is 90% of the job. And that's one thing that I've learned from the work that I've done over this past year and a half working with plant managers and consultants and analysts and entrepreneurs and leaders, COOs, founders, is listening is the massive part of the job. Constantly get feedback when I am asked, or when I ask the person that I'm coaching at the end of the session, and you've heard this before from me, and I love this question. So, definitely would encourage you to stick this in your arsenal of coaching questions. What was the most valuable part of this here? And of course, this is from Michael Bungay Steiner and the Coaching Habit, one of his 7 coaching questions. And this is the one that I probably use the most aside from "and what else?" And the vast majority of the time, I would say if you were to plot it out over time, the theme, just the space to be able to process and share, AKA listen, you don't, right? So as a coach, that's something, and with Laurel, that's something that I've learned is just, even though the majority of the time when I ask, okay, what do you need today? It's okay, let's walk through the coaching questions. So we do that. And a huge part of that is just listening, and then asking a good question. Asking a good question. Now, if you feel like, hey, I've got something, an insight that would be really helpful here, obviously, if the person is struggling, they're out in the middle of the water, you don't not throw them a life preserver. You're going to do that. If you're seeing them really, really struggling and you can see it in their face and their body language, they're down and they're dejected. You can see they're frustrated and they're struggling to come up with anything. When you're asking them those good coaching questions that are going to help them come up with an insight or a next step to help them move forward, if you're seeing there's nothing coming, this is where I like to use the tip that I got from one of my first coaches. In fact, my first kata coach, Julie Simmons, she would always say, okay, I'm putting on my coaching cap. I'm putting on my consulting cap. Yeah, absolutely, Graham. Absolutely. Better questions, right? We want to have those better questions to help them towards the better solutions and the better learning and developing the way that they're thinking. So that's great, right? Spot on, Graham. We want to ask those good questions. So, again, those first 2 things to keep in mind, to avoid, learn from me, And I'm always learning, still learning as a coach, always, every day that I do a coaching session, write down a learning. So avoid that over structure or the reliance on structure. Remember, it's a pirate's code. Avoid that urge to have the answer. And for me, I'll just say the underlying thing is I want people to, mm, the struggle for me is the belief of having value, that I'm adding value to what they're paying. And so I don't want to be like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He can't help me. Like, he's just asking me these questions. I'm paying him to help me get to where I'm going. For me, my hope is that I can help you develop your thinking so that you can be able to do it on your own. I want to help build those skills up in you so that after you go forward, you've made progress and you ideally made it to your goal, but ultimately you've grown your thinking so that when your next challenges come around in your career or your business or your life, you've got this framework that you can use to help you move forward. So again, if you need to move into that spot, you see the person you're working with struggling, obviously say, I'm moving into that. Do you mind if I move into like a consultant or a guide at this point in time, or teaching mode? I'm going to put my teaching hat on right now. So those are the first two. And the last that just brings a smile to my face. And this is kind of like, I don't want to say it's not a backhanded compliment, but you want to avoid working with people that aren't your tribe. As I reflect back on my time with Laurel at, and many of my other folks that I work with today, I feel so thankful. So thankful because when I started out a year and a half ago, one of my first clients that I worked with, they were super kind and caring and really needed some support on their journey forward in their career. And I remember I was really struggling too with my confidence. So I had made an offer when I made the offer of like, well, I can do it for this or this. And of course, they were like, well, I'll choose the lower price because, of course. Um, and then as we move forward for a few months of work and almost that daily coaching work, I recognized that this was not the kind of person, again, great, beautiful heart. But I remembered looking at some of those sessions and I wasn't looking forward to them. I wasn't looking forward to those sessions. In contrast to as I reflect back and I think through and I look at my coaching, when I see my coaching session with Laurel come up, I am just like so excited and so energized because I'll be honest with you, it's not really work. Don't tell Laurel, it's not really work. I just love showing up because I know she's going to show up ready to do work. She's going to be, she's always the genuine article. She's going to, if she didn't do work or she only did half or it did amazing or it went sideways, she's just going to share all that. She's fully herself in the space. And as a coach, that's somebody you can work with. That's somebody you can help move forward. And I'm sure you all have experienced this too. And I wonder, if I'm the only one who've had those challenges with clients, you're like, oh gosh, you know, is that ugh. Or note to self, these are not the kind of people for me. And so for me, and I'm still working on this in my practice, making sure that especially when you're in those initial conversations, that when you feel that energy and that connection, those are the people that you're really not pursuing, but those are the people that you're like, okay, these are my people, and they're the ones that you really want to continue to look to work with as you're going through that process. And I don't even like the word vetting. That's not the word I'm looking for. But as you're going through that process of, okay, is this the kind of person who needs my help, and is this the kind of person I would like to work with. I mean, of course, the priority is this going, am I going to be able to add value to this person and help them? Then it's okay, is this the kind of person I would like to work with? And that's just something that as I reflect back on the past year, that I just have so much joy. Like I I'm sure if I look back, I have a column in my notes on connection. We talked about some real dumb shit over our time. I'm sure. I know we have. But then we also went deep on the other end of the spectrum around some deep stuff that was going on and challenges that were going on for her. Um, exactly, Lee. I love that. That whole having our core values line up with their core values. Your tribe will be drawn to your vibe. That's what someone that I was in conversation with about a year ago said. And I thought that just resonates so much. Your tribe will be drawn by your vibe. And that's so true with Laurel as well. She is my people. I don't even like that term, my people, but that's the people that I love to work with. The people that bring that positivity, that desire to grow and learn and do the work. And if they don't, they know that that's okay too. That's a part of it. That's a part of the work. When you come to a session, you're like, well, I didn't do the work. Okay, cool. There's an opportunity to learn there. We can dig in and ask questions about, okay, what was going on? What happened? Tell me more about what was going on for you and why you feel like you didn't do the work. What were you feeling in that moment? So, those are the kind of people I want to work with, the people that have a goal. They see where they want to get to. They're honest about where they're at right now. They're willing to do that, set those little goals and then move forward and take action, regular, consistent action over time. And they have to be fun. They have to not take themselves so seriously and be open to learning. Now, if there's anyone that's probably got to like raise their hand on that, I'm one too. I can take myself so serious, and I think I'm learning to do that a little bit better. You know, I'm wearing pink today. Um, Doing my little South Beach thing. Um, so, you know, be you, right? This is me. And that is the kind of people I want to work with, right? And I hope for you too, right? I'm sure you've learned that lesson as well. The people that you want to work with and the people that you don't want to work with. And so I would just encourage you as you think about these things and reflect. So I love reflection. So many opportunities to learn, do that reflection on a daily basis. Yes, absolutely, Ruth. Having honesty in that coaching conversation. There's so much good energy when you do that and when you've had that trust built up. And so making sure, again, these three things to avoid, right? That avoidance of overstructure. Remember, it's a pirate's code. And avoid that urge to have the answer. Remember, it's about building them up and their skills and capabilities. And then lastly, work with the people that you love. As Lee says here, do they fit the core values of the company? The EOS. I'm not familiar with the EOS. Do they get it? Do they want it? And do they have the capacity to do it? Yes, I like that. So, yeah, thank you for offering that, Lee. This is great. I love these inputs here from y'all. Knowing that other people are processing in this same way is awesome because I don't want to be alone either. Like, I like to know that there are people out there that are thinking about these things too and that recognize, we all have opportunities to learn and grow. And I'm thankful that I get that opportunity with people like Laurel and others of my uh, clients that I work with right now. I feel so blessed and thankful for that. And thank you for that clarification. Entrepreneurial operating system. Appreciate that. Still new to some of these, this part of the game. So thank you, Lee. Appreciate that. And thank you all for being here. If you're in that space where what I shared about, And honestly, this wasn't even planned. To be honest with you. Like if the energy that you're feeling right now, what I described as someone that I vibe with, if that's your jam and you're in this place where you're needing help moving forward, let's have a conversation. Let's see if there's an opportunity to work together and help you on your journey. And again, I'm so thankful for those people that I work with, for all of you that are here that have taken time out of every Tuesday and Thursday. And I am super stoked for Tuesday because we're going to have uh, João Chavez Silva here. And he is so excited to be here. And then it's going to be a double next week for y'all. We're going to have 2 coaching sessions next week, one on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, I've got Yolanda Chin lined up. So we're going to have 2 great lean operational practitioners to come in here into the coaching space. So please join us again and keep the conversation going. Let's keep talking about those things to avoid. And this is a safe space. So if you've got a mistake that you've learned from, let's share it with the community here so we can all learn and grow together. And thank you so much for being here. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll look forward to seeing you next Tuesday for another episode of Lean Coaching.